Morning, Stephanie. So today we have woken up in a little car park and there is not a soul here, despite the fact we're by a main road, which wasn't busy in the night, so we've managed to sleep okay. There's nobody in here, is there? There's nobody in the car park at all.
We had doggers last night.
We had doggers again last night, but they were kind of the other side of the car park. We're right at the edge, so it didn't really bother us. See, when I film it like that, it makes it look like we're in the middle of the woods somewhere, doesn't it? Well, apart from the cars, you can see it in the background there. So we're going to wake up, get sorted, find my voice, and crack on with the day, wherever we are, whatever we're going to do. We haven't got much time left before we've got to go to work, so we're going to work tomorrow, yeah, Stephen just said. So we're going to try and fill the day with something a little bit fun, maybe, but we do have to do some practical stuff as well. We are just outside of the town of Chesterfield. Now, a couple of you guys have actually recommended this place as a possible town for us to maybe put down future routes in. I'm not sure we're going to have a look on this trip because at the moment we've kind of exhausted that so much. Like, we've looked at so many places for those reasons, and I think we just want a little bit of a break from it. Our heads are very much still in East Yorkshire. We do really love that area, and I think if we do go and explore other areas for future places to have a home again, I think we want to explore them in full rather than just one town. So we won't do Chesterfield today, but what we will do is, actually, what will we do, Steve? We still don't know. But yeah, thank you for recommending Chesterfield. Hopefully we can get up here at some point in the future and we can spend time in the surrounding area rather than just doing one town. So hopefully we will get around to it. First things first, off for a run. It's been a few days and now I have to face the mission where I get my phone out, try to figure out a place to run, try to find a trail, even just a path. I've got Stephen's hat on today. I look like I'm wearing a tea cozy or something. I mean, one nice surprise about not knowing where you're going to run when you're parked up somewhere random is you can often stumble upon little bits of scenery like this, so this lovely little lake. But then on the flip side of it, you've got paths like this and it's been really muddy so far. So I haven't been able to get into any sort of stride. You're kind of just trotting along, trying to hold your foot in. And I think it's just going in a little circle that's going to take me straight back to the van pretty much before I've even started. I think I've talked about this at length before, but you assume that being in a van, you're going to find the most amazing places to go running. But this is the UK. And it's wet. So for 3/4 of the year, even if you do, you often find something that's not particularly easy to run on, or you're parked in a lay-by, so you can't actually run anywhere in particular. Right, I better put this away so I can actually do some running, eh? I'm just doing it to prove I do go for these runs, you know. It's not all made up. Not this is proving much at all. Well, that run was a bit of a failure, but never mind, it was something. It wasn't much of anything, but it was something. Right now, we're actually sitting here trying to figure out what to do, and what we're actually trying to figure out is if our National Trust membership has renewed itself. We couldn't figure it out because we were thinking of going to a National Trust today. But Stephen's logging in right now just to see if we still have the National Trust membership and if it's renewed itself, because it actually ran out a couple of days ago. So we don't know if it's renewed. Nothing's been taken money-wise, but does it automatically renew? Did we set that up? I don't know. Well, as it turns out, our National Trust joint membership has renewed. It has. So we were debating whether we were going to renew it again, actually. It is absolutely worth it. We've got loads of use out of it, but not so much in the last half of the last year. But I'd still say we got our money back easily with the places we visited, but we still weren't sure if we were going to do it again. But it's renewed itself, so here we go. We've got National Trust again, so we better bloody make the most of it. So today, being a grimy day, we have found somewhere that it looks like we can go and explore. It looks like the building's open, so let's go on a National Trust day out, Steve, shall we?
Come on then.
Wholesome goodness.
Right, then.
Wholesome goodness.
Turn the camera off then so you can show me where I'm going.
Oh yeah. So we have come up the road to a place called Hardwick Hall. So it's a National Trust property. We haven't done this for quite a while, have we now, Steve? Yeah. So we're having a bit of a National Trust day out, diving into all the English aristocracy, that history, the lavish buildings, a time when people, well, some people, the lucky few, lived in absolutely grand mansions that overlooked lots of land and had lots of land. that's what we're doing today. We've come to a prime example of it. So Hardwick Hall was the home of a lady called, or it was built by somebody called Bess of Hardwick, or her real name, well, her full name was Elizabeth. And over time, she built this place in the late 1500s. So it's an Elizabethan building. So what does that put it as, Steve? 400 years old? Older. 400 and something years old. Oh my God, I can't do maths. And there's a saying, a local saying for Hardwick Hall, which is Hardwick Hall, more glass than wall. I guess that rhymes. The reason being is because it had quite daring windows at the time, and it used so much glass, and as the building rises from the ground, the windows get progressively bigger, apparently. We haven't actually seen it yet, but this is what we've read. So we're looking forward to that, and you can go around this house. You can freely roam around, explore it. You don't need a guided tour. I don't know how much is open, but that's always appealing to us, isn't it? So we get to actually see things in there at our own leisure. Unfortunately, a coachload of school kids have turned up at the same time, so we're going to try and time this so that we don't go into the house at the same time as them, which might be tricky. Meanwhile, Stephen's got the lunch on, we've got the wraps going. It's all a very wholesome day out, isn't it, Steve? Diving into the posh history of UK aristocracy.
Yeah, and your wrap's ready.
Lovely. That timed well, because I've got nothing else to say because I haven't learned anything else about this place. We'll fill you in on more later if we know any more. But more importantly, let's just show you.
Yeah, stop rambling.
All right. I'll press stop right now. And we've got a cracking wrap there made by Stephen. It's got tuna in, we've got egg mayonnaise, we've got gherkins, we've got rocket, we've got onion, we've got cucumber. Steve has a knack of making really good wraps. I always make them and they fall apart. They just seem too fiddly to me. But you're just too good at it, Steve. So the whole saying, Hardwick Hall, more glass than wall, well, you can see where that's come from. How grand is that, Steve? Look at those windows. So as we were saying earlier, like about the windows getting bigger as it gets taller towards the top, that does seem to be true. That is astonishing. And at the time, you can imagine how bold that was to do, and maybe quite difficult to pull off. And you can also see that Bess, who lived into her 80s, by the way, and she didn't build this house until she was fairly old, just to kind of epitomise the status she wanted to represent. She's got her initials put along the top of the house in various places. So if there was any doubt as to who made it, well, there couldn't be. Well, there could be, because ES could mean anything if you didn't know. So, national trust rate so far, Steve. I think we've seen the majority. We came here for the house, really, and I'm happy enough with that, aren't you?
Aye.
But national trust rate, Hardwick Hall, Steve, or Hardwick House.
Yeah, I think it's nice. The building's quite striking.
Yeah, the building is incredible. All of those glass, big, gigantic windows. The funny thing is, when you're in the house, the majority of those windows are not open. They're completely covered up. And the reason for that, I've lost Steve now. Where have you gone? Oh, he's gone in this curious little building here. So the reason so many of those big windows are covered up in the house is because the house is full of tapestries, and arguably that's what it's most famous for at the moment. So Bess of Hardwick, who built the house and lived there for a long time, one of the things she liked, and one of the things that was popular in Elizabethan times, was kind of like displaying your wealth and filling it with luxurious things, filling your space with luxury and opulent goods and things that made it, that showed off your status and what you'd achieved or the money you have. And Bess of Hardwick very much loved that kind of stuff, and she married 4 times, and on her 4th marriage I think was when she actually built this house. So it was quite late on in her life, actually, thinking about it, but she filled it with all these tapestries among other things, and the tapestries kind of depicted what she was like as a person and what she felt she embodied, I think. But more importantly than that, some of these tapestries are some of the originals, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they go back like 400 plus years, and it's incredible. They are huge. They are just all draped on the walls, and this is why the windows are sealed up, to prevent the sunlight damaging it, presumably. So it's quite dark in a lot of the rooms. I'm not sure what footage I managed to get, hopefully something that shows it off to some degree.
And I noticed a lot of the men are quite unattractive from that era.
Quite unattractive.
Yeah.
Is that not just the paintings though? Because I feel like everybody looks a little bit unattractive in them paintings.
And the main pose seems to be, you know, like you see girls posing in the way they put their feet, 1 foot to the side, 1 foot forward for their pictures these days, like that kind of thing.
A little bit.
All of the men's poses were like that.
Well, they were forward thinking, Steve. They were in touch with their feminine side.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is, you think you're more advanced sometimes, but you look back at some of the costumes the men used to wear and you think, actually, that's really flamboyant, or actually borderline camp.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sometimes you think we've lost some of that, and we've gone into this kind of like, men can't look like this kind of thing.
Yeah. And also I noticed, I'm reading, like a lot of the tapestries, like the really kind of big grand things, it was done by men in those days. Like, it wasn't women that did that. It was men that sat there for weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
Creating these tapestries. It wasn't a woman thing. Like now you associate that embroidery and that kind of thing, typically you associate that with a kind of a female activity.
Does it say they're all done by men, or does it just say
the Gideon tapestries?
The Gideon ones were. So the Gideon tapestries, they tell a whole story about Gideon and hearing the words of God, and God commanded him to do certain things, and these tapestries depict each section of the story. They're absolutely monumental, and they're in a big room called the gallery, I think, the long gallery. Yeah. And they line it, and there's fireplaces in there. It is absolutely astonishing, and I would say this is one of the best value National Trust properties we've come to. Now, don't get me wrong, if we didn't have the membership, it would still be expensive. It's like 20 quid each or something.
Yeah, we wouldn't pay that.
No, but where are we, Steve?
I think we've walked around in a circle.
We have walked around in a circle, but we're talking to the camera, so that's all right. So what else have we learnt, Steve, about this place? Come on, what's the facts and the figures and the history? I think we've been through there, because that's the house. Oh, we can walk through this way. What else have you learnt, Steve? Give us the facts.
I don't know.
Oh. Bloody useless. Well, as Steve can't provide any facts, I will attempt to do so very badly, because our history and knowledge of these sorts of places isn't grand, I'm going to say.
Yeah, you just looked at Google.
I just Google it, of course I do. I'm not a bloody historian, Steve. I could just lie, but one thing we did not know is that this place, Hardwick Hall, is so intrinsically linked with somewhere not far from here that is much more famous, arguably, and that is Chatsworth. So Chatsworth Estate, I mean, that's probably...
Isn't that from Shameless?
yeah, the Shameless one, of course. Oh my God, that's probably why they called it that name in Shameless. Oh, we can go here. We found the back of the house. So Chatsworth, probably, arguably, like one of Britain's most famous stately homes. Or what, I don't know if you call it a stately home, but you know, grand houses, manor houses, estates. So Hardwick isn't far from there, or rather Chatsworth isn't far from here, and Bess of Hardwick, who built this, actually built the original house on Chatsworth Estate, I think. Now, it's not the one that survives today, that was a new one, but she did build the original. We've come to a dead end, I think. You'll have to turn around. One fun little thing I read was that the servants from Chatsworth actually came over to here for some kind of illicit picnic. Champagne picnic, yeah, with silver forks and spoons and that kind of stuff. So that was quite exciting. Well, I imagine it was quite exciting.
Why was it illicit?
I think it just wasn't allowed, was it? Did they just do it sort of secretly?
They used the silver.
Yeah, maybe because they used the silver, and maybe they just took a bottle of champagne. I don't know. Good for them. But Chatsworth has been, I think, in the same family for centuries, and I think this one here, Hardwick, was also in the same family for a long time. And the last person, I think, who was here, was it the Duchess of Devonshire? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. But the last person who was here, she left it to the National Trust, I think, or was it her son? Oh my God, this is useless. Why are we trying to give information when we don't know anything? The point being, the last person here gave this property to the National Trust. Like so many in the 1900s, I guess it's because that way of life just started to come to an end, and it just it became too expensive to manage ultimately. And I think so many of these estates and properties over time, they've kind of just ended up with people kind of rattling around in them, but the actual estate and what it does maybe no longer bringing in money. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So hence a lot of them coming into the hands of trusts like the National Trust to look after them, and then so people like us can go around and enjoy them. I think the most interesting part actually was the tapestries. So much of the material was reclaimed from the churches and monasteries. So from the dissolution of the monasteries, a lot of the material was reclaimed from that. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah.
That is right, isn't it?
Yeah, and then they just sewed them onto their current.
Yeah, so some of this material was obviously quite luxurious and expensive, and one of her husbands had something to do with the monasteries, or the dissolution of the monasteries, so he had access to these materials. But otherwise, just a very beautiful house to visit and highly recommended, I would say. And if, you know, Stephen enjoyed it, so always a plus. What have we done, Steve?
Booked into a travel lodge.
We've booked into a travel lodge. Flop Vanlifers. We failed. No, hang on a minute. So, we've booked in to a travel lodge because we are going to work tomorrow, and we just thought, do you know what? We're just going to treat ourselves to a room, which, by the way, was £29. So, it's not even that much more than a campsite. In fact, it's actually less than some campsites, hilariously. So we just wanted somewhere, because we're going to work tomorrow. We thought, sod it, we're just going to park up, we can get showered, we can just have a little bit of comfort for a night. Does that make us like not real van lifers? I don't think so. And quite frankly, that's our business, you know, like if we earn our money from our work, and we can spend it on what we want, can't we?
No.
So if we want to come and stay in a travel lodge, that's what we're going to do. And you know what? This is great. This feels lovely.
Yeah, well, it's practical, isn't it?
It is practical.
We need to shower before we go to work. You know,
Yeah.
you just have to do that.
We would stay on, I mean, you know, we stay on campsites. You've seen it in loads of our videos. It's just this time it was like, hang on, the travel lodge isn't that much more, so why not do that? And we have done that a few times in the past, you know, so it's worth looking out for. I'm sure other people in vans have done this before as well, when it's like, actually, when you need to refresh and do things and have a wash, actually, occasionally, a hotel can work out just the same.
Yeah.
And you've got a bed, you know, so it's a bit nicer.
We normally will have to pay for a campsite or whatever if we've got to plug in and do a video. So
Yeah,
if it's just as much money to stay in a travel lodge, we'll do that.
exactly.
You know.
So, I mean, I think these days it's becoming harder and harder to find a relatively cheap hotel room. Like, even if you go back even just 2 years, not long after we started van life, I'm pretty sure we noticed, because we did it a couple of times, didn't we? You got some really, really cheap rooms, and I feel like in the 20s, not 20 quid sometimes, but I feel like those days have kind of gone away, or it's certainly harder and harder to find. Still, nonetheless, this was £29, and quite frankly, it's worth shopping around. And we're in a bed. It's like, oh, this is a taste of what it might be like to have a home again, Steve.
Yeah.
Like just walking into your bathroom, hello, I need a wee, there it is, I'm going to come out, oh, I'm going to pop into my shower, I'm just going to look out of my lovely window over the scenery. I mean, there's not much scenery, but whatever.
It's not.
I'm going to flop onto the bed, I'm going to pop the telly on. I just think we're just going to enjoy it for the night.
No.
And then we're back in the van tomorrow and back to work. So there we are.
I think the only thing with a travel lodge instead of a campsite is we can't cook a dinner.
No, that's the thing, but we have got snacks. We've bought room snacks.
A lot of room snacks.
We've got a lot of room snacks. Absolute junk, but who cares?
Yeah.
When we're at work, no alcohol for 2 weeks. It's actually going to be over 2 weeks this time. 2.5 weeks. No booze on any of those days.
Yeah.
We eat well. We tend to exercise more, so it's fine. This is like the last night of freedom for a little while before we get back on the penny earning train.
Yes.
Aye. So there we go. We're in a travel lodge.
Yeah.
Anyone else in a van ever do this? Anyone think it's terrible? Anyone got any judgments?
Well, I don't think they will have. I mean, if they do, all right, bye.
Well, you know, the world of like the van life world, sometimes there's some really hardcore people out there that's like, if you're not doing it this way, you're not a van lifer. Well, whatever, really. That's our choice how we do it.
If you ain't got a house and you live in your van, you're a van lifer.
My argument always is, if you live in a house and then you go on holiday for a year to like Mallorca or somewhere, oh, you don't really live in a house because you've just spent time. So the argument can't be thrown back at us. I'm being overly defensive over something for no reason.
You are. You know, van lifer doesn't mean like prison life. You know, it's
no, you want to change sometimes, and I don't know, it's really lovely. However, we're not used to central heating and it's bloody hot, so I think the clothes are coming off. We won't be showing you that.
You don't need to see that.
No. We're a bit out of shape at the moment, so you definitely don't. Yay, we're in a room, Steve.
Yeah.
Exciting. What do you mean, yeah? God, he's never bothered by anything, is he? Christ.
Whatever. It's just a travel lodge. It's hardly a luxury.
Well, whatever you're about to say, it absolutely feels like that. So yes, it is to us. This is a luxury. This may as well be the most expensive hotel in the world. Anyone notice our travel lodges, by the way, I can't show you, always have that same dreadful picture on the wall? Why? What does it mean?
I don't know.
Anyway, not complaining.
So we are going to just sit here and have a couple of beers.
Yeah. But first, let's give you a tour of the room. Oh, you haven't finished.
I was just going to say and watch a little bit of crap telly.
We're going to watch some crap telly like we're in a house. I love it, Steve.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's give you a tour of the exclusive travel lodge room. I'm sure it doesn't look like any of the others. So, some shelves. Proper exciting stuff. There's a fan up there if you need it. Somewhere to hang your clothes. We've got a bathroom here with a shower and a bath, a few towels, a little telly. There's our snacks. Steve's in bed. We've got a beer either side. Walking on a proper carpet. Ugly curtains that travel lodges always have. A kettle, of course, a kettle with some tea bags and some coffee. Always feels like you're on holiday, doesn't it? And the crappy little cartons of milk that they give you. We brought our own milk in because that doesn't go very far. There we go, Steve. That's the tour.
Thrilling.
Absolutely thrilling. And it's no frills. But to us, that's all the frills. Yeah. Stephen, it's warmer. It's big. I mean, look, I can leap about. I can jump. I can exercise. It's brilliant. I'm not going to exercise now. I've had a beer.
I'm just going to stay in bed.
See, you are loving it. You're straight in bed. Mind you do that in the van.
No, this is what I'm thinking. If I was in the van, what would I be doing any different?
Okay, well, let's check out and go back in the van then.
Sitting on my bed.
Don't enjoy anything.
Right,
Moan about it all.
I will.
Yeah, of course you will.
I'm not moaning.
Moaning bitch.
Just not
Honestly.
about it.
So this is our home for now. We can move. We can stretch. I can dance. I won't do star jumps because there's probably people beneath us and we're on the top floor. But I can do exercises. I can walk into the other room, into the bathroom, the ensuite. If we're in a house, by the way, if we ever do move in, we know that those novelties will probably wear off within a week, right? We've had this conversation many times. So imagine going back and we're like, oh yeah, we've got all these things. And it's like, I know what we're like. After a week, we'll probably be like, should we just get back in the van then? Like, because it's stuff we crave, but I don't know, like, you know how human beings are. We don't always appreciate things, do we? And they wear off very quickly. So it's very easy to be grateful for what you've got. But we know how life works. You get caught in patterns and you don't always have time to cherish those things. So the fact that we could go back to a home and have a kitchen with an oven and a proper, like, a set of 4 hobs and all that kind of stuff, microwave maybe, whatever, running water in a sink. I know we've got that, but it's not proper running water, is it? After a few days, a week or whatever, it'll be like, that's normal. And then we get bogged down with the other stuff. We're just not very appreciative as humans, are we, really?
Well, I think we just... I don't know.
I don't think we are. I don't know what I'm saying really, but you know, we're here in this.
Yeah, Dan, listen,
What?
just to interrupt you. Because your arms are tanned and the rest of your body isn't, you look like you're wearing really long brown gloves.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am.
Big long brown gloves on.
Yeah, it's a bit weird actually. I've noticed this. There's certain tan lines on my body, but when the hell was the last time our body was being tanned? That's a bit strange. Maybe it's just sort of stayed on us.
Got that really.
Have they?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what, in January?
Yeah. It's obvious on the camera, but if I look at you, it's not.
I suppose we did spend quite a bit of time in shorts and t-shirts in Spain, and that wasn't that long ago.
No.
Oh well, I'm wearing silk gloves because we're in a room, you know, I've got to dress appropriately
Aye.
in my dress wear so I can open my fancy curtains, Steve, that aren't absolutely hideous, of course. I'm just going to look out into my gracious garden. I can't see anything.
Aye. And with that fascinating display of behaviour, should we just carry on with our evening?
Yes,
and
we'll
have a
carry
drink?
on with our evening. I'm just loving the space, Steve. I feel like I could do a proper fucking dance around here. Oh, I just swore I'm going to have to edit that out. I probably won't, though. But is this sort of stuff better than the van?
It's not
I don't
better,
think
it's
it
just
is.
different.
It's different. It's a nice bit of comfort for a night, but it's not necessarily...
If it was sunny and warm out, we wouldn't have even bothered. We would
No.
have stayed on the site.
No, we probably would have got... Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Because it's winter, we're more likely to do this. Although you say that, but we hardly ever do this. This feels like nothing. This feels like so new. I can't think of any... We've been in this van for 3.5 years, and I think there's only a handful of times we've ever stayed in a room, really, when you add them up. So, but yeah, your point is true. Once in the winter, we'd be more inclined to do it than in the summer. Anyway, here's our room. We're going to enjoy our evening, have a fabulous little time. I'm going to stand here dancing around.
I hope not.
I'm probably going to open another beer and dance around some more. And we're just going to watch some telly.
Alright then.
Alright then.
Alright, bye.
Alright, we'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Bye.
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 Morning. Well, say goodbye to our little taster of home life, Steve. I mean, it's not really, it's a room, but, you know, a little taster of what it might be like to live somewhere that isn't in the van, but not with those awful, awful curtains.
No.
Say goodbye to the terrible curtains, Steve.
No.
We had a nice evening though, didn't we?
Yeah,
Just sat there with our snacks, a couple of drinks, and
Watch Fanny Craddock.
we watched some telly, just crap telly, for hours and hours on end. It was like properly kind of like having one of those sofa days in a house.
We never watch telly anymore, do we?
Not really. We've got the laptop and things we can watch things on, but we rarely watch things now.
We do really rarely now.
And a lot of that is just due to time. Like we settle down, and I don't know. We always find we're quite busy. Being in a van, you're always quite busy, and even when we're settling down, it's like set things up, cook dinner, and I mean, you'll draw, I might read. Sometimes we'll watch stuff, but it's definitely fallen off track a bit.
We
So
sit and look at our phones though.
we do sit and look at scroll the internet, doom scrolling. Yeah, that's a terrible habit. So we sat there and watched Winter Watch. That was all wholesome, all the animals in the UK countryside. Something else, and then we watched Fear of Fanny. Is that what happened to us, Steve?
Yeah, Fear of Fanny.
Is that why we are the way we are?
Maybe.
But Fear of Fanny, it's a drama about Fanny Craddock, who was obviously a famous UK chef and quite controversial, but also very interesting. Quite a colourful life, I think, and it was really good, wasn't it? It was Julia Davis that played her, and it's nearly 20 years old, that show, which is actually shocking. I didn't think it was that old. But yeah, Fear of Fanny, check it out. Very good.
It's alright.
Yeah, be careful what you Google when you Google that, I guess.
Yeah.
Alright, so we are going to head off now, say goodbye to the room, and we're going to crack on. We need to do some things before we head to work.
Yes, we've got a few things to do. So
Yeah,
let's go.
boring crap.
Bye.
Bye. So before we head to work, Daisy's having a much needed wash, sort her out a bit, because it has been a while. In fact, I think the last time was before we went to Spain. And trying to figure out these bloody things, I don't know if anyone else has ever used them, but I think they're quite confusing, to be honest. Like, there's so many options, and they're trying to figure out how to go about it, especially when you don't always want to do it in the order they say. Finny, she is clean
Job one.
to a degree. So we're having fun with our LPG again. By the way, we've washed Daisy and look what's happened now. We've gone down a main road, it was raining, and all these trucks have just made her filthy again. So that was a waste of time. For some reason the LPG is not going in. I think it's connected, right? I'm going to have to go and ask.
I just don't think they've set the pump down.
Well, we managed to sort the LPG out. Apparently we were using the wrong pump. That pump was out of order. It was actually really lucky they had another pump, because quite often these places, garages, don't have more than one LPG station, do they? So that was fortunate. We got that done. There was still half a tank left, but you can't always be sure. So as we're going to work, we wanted to make sure we were topped up. So that's everything done. We've been shopping. Daisy's had a wash fruitlessly because she's now covered in mud again from lorries, but never mind. And then we're on our way. I mean, that's kind of like the end of this set of videos, really, of this trip. We've had a good time, had lots to think about up north if we do settle down, especially East Yorkshire. We really like it there. Who knows what's next for us? But we're just going to film it as we go, film whatever we fancy, film whatever we're feeling, and just go where our hearts and our heads take us and where our wheels take us. And in terms of us filming videos in advance to go out while we're at work, the thing is, we actually have a lot of work now booked in right up until midway through the summer. So and some of them are really big stretches of like 4 weeks. So I'm not sure how much we can realistically pre-record all the time so that we can have a video out every Sunday. I don't think it's going to be sustainable, but look, we'll try our best. We're trying to do what we can. Hope you guys can stick with us and be patient with us, and hopefully you're here even if we do have to skip a few weeks here and there. And yeah, just go with the flow, because that's what we can do. The flow might not have much of a flow, but we'll try to go with it. That sun is very bright now. So yeah, it might be a bit inconsistent. We can't film every second of our lives all the time, but sometimes it can feel like that when we're trying to save them up in advance. So we might have to look at that, especially when we've got so much work coming up. But we're still here, we're still recording, we've still got stuff to do, we've still got our lives to figure out, and we've still got Daisy to enjoy and run about in, haven't we? And have lots of adventures in still. So with that, we're going to end the video. Stephen would normally do it, but I think the sound is just not going to work from here. We're driving and it's just not going to pick up, is it? And I can't say to Stephen, can you look at the camera and talk, because then we will just crash, so that's not good. So I'm going to do it now. Thank you for watching. Please push your like button, very important, as Steve always says. Push your like button, press the subscribe button if you can, if you're not subscribed, and press the notification bell if you want to be updated whenever we've got a new video out. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.